What's up, everybody? Welcome into a special edition of Crush City Territory. I'm Chandler Rome, flying solo today because Tyler Stafford and his wife Alicia welcomed their son on Thursday. Congratulations to Tyler, Alicia, Margot, and Olivia on the new addition. I'm going to let Tyler announce name, weight, all that stuff. But for those that listen to this podcast, you will very much get a chuckle out of Tyler's son's name, who he swears that the family picked the name out prior to beginning the podcast and prior to Tyler hopping on a certain hype train. So just wait until Tyler decides that he wants to tell the world his son's name. But you did see last night that Tyler did post a picture from the hospital. Everybody is happy, healthy, and I'm happy to report sleeping, at least for now, through the night. So today I'm going to fly solo. For those watching on YouTube, I'm so sorry. You have to look at my face for 25, 30 minutes. I wish I was better looking, but we can't all have what we want. The Astros wanted a little bit better offensive production last night against Jacob deGrom, but that was never going to happen. And in a game that lived up to every billing that you thought it would be. Usually, when you get a marquee pitching matchup like this, there's something goes wrong, or it inevitably ends up, 12-8 with six relievers used, and it never lives up to the hype. Last night, Hunter Brown and Jacob deGrom both lived up to the hype. Jacob deGrom going 8 innings for the first time since 2021, 8 scoreless innings against the Astros, and really looked in peak deGrom form. A couple guys in the Astros clubhouse afterward saying that was vintage Jacob deGrom and his best stuff. And we all know the health issues that he has been through. Um, Certainly looked last night like he is past those. They pushed him further than he has been pushed in a very long time, and the Astros really had no recourse. And I will say this: the line doesn't look great. Obviously, when you go 8 scoreless innings, it's tough to give credit to anybody on the other side. But the Astros put up some good at bats against Jacob deGrom. Adolis Garcia made two excellent diving catches in right field to steal hits. Evan Carter stole a base hit from Jake Myers to start the sixth inning. The average. The expected batting average, I should say, on the balls that the Astros hit off Jacob deGrom was 233. In contrast, Hunter Brown gave up a 211 expected batting average in his 8 innings of one-run ball. And I think if you watch that game, it's hard to deny that Hunter Brown was probably the more dominant pitcher. He went 12 up, 12 down on 38 pitches to start the game. Looked like a guy with no hit stuff. He struck out four guys his first time through the Rangers lineup. Three of them were on three pitches. He threw 21 of his first 26 pitches for strikes. He rose to the occasion in every sense of the word. And I think, and I wrote about this a little bit after the game, I think Hunter Brown is still somewhat flying under the radar. Just as a guy that, he's not, he's never a guy that's going to be a loud talker, like seek the spotlight. He's only been really doing this for a calendar year. You got to remember his turnaround started on May 5th of last season. That's when he added the sinker to his repertoire, and he has really taken off. So he certainly hasn't been doing it as long as Jacob deGrom, hasn't been doing it as long as some other guys in the league that get notoriety as ace level guys, as guys that, you tune in to watch as appointment television. I think Hunter Brown helped to kind of announce himself to the baseball world last night. He matched Jacob deGrom pitch for pitch, inning for inning. He was the stuff, and just the results you were seeing from the Rangers, the type of swings they were taking, the fact that they were down in so many counts so early. It's tough to watch that game and not come out of it thinking that Hunter Brown was probably the more dominant pitcher. Now, they don't give results out for dominance, they give results out for production. And Hunter Brown did make the one mistake between these two guys, left a cutter pretty flat to Jake Berger, who hit it out for a solo home run. It was the first home run Hunter Brown had given up in 50 and 2/3 innings. Um, Gave up a solo homer to Jake Berger, and that ended up being the difference in the game. Because when you're up against a guy like Jacob deGrom, when you're up against that sort of pitcher, all it takes sometimes is one pitch. And you knew going into that game last night, it was probably going to take just one run to win it. And after 3 or 4 innings, when you saw how both of those guys were pitching, you kind of knew the first team to score was going to be the one to win. And so Hunter Brown was dealt a hard luck loss through the first complete game of his big league career. Now it was only 8 innings because because the Rangers did not bat in the bottom of the ninth, but um, the numbers that Hunter Brown continues to put up are pretty staggering. So we talked about he's only been doing this for a short while. He's only been doing this for a calendar year. So you look back to yesterday was May 15th. You look back the past 365 days to last May 15th. Um, Across that span of 365 days, only Paul Skeens has a lower ERA than Hunter Brown. No big league pitcher has a lower FIP in that span than Hunter Brown. He is every bit of an ace. And I don't know that we needed last night against Jacob deGrom to prove that, to announce that to the world, but that is what he is. He has supplanted Framber Valdez as the ace of this team, and that's no disrespect to Framber Valdez, who is pitching well and is a guy that the Astros have immense faith in when he goes to the mound. But Hunter Brown just has a different kind of aura to him now. He has a different aura to him this year. You can tell that he is going out there and he knows he is good. He knows that his stuff he is pitching with so much more confidence this season. And he was doing that toward the end of last season, too, after he added the sinker and after he started seeing a bunch of success. The confidence with which he is pitching is incredible. And then, after the game, he is the consummate team guy. Was not interested in, reflecting on, man, you just matched Jacob deGrom pitch for pitch. Like, how cool was that? And he was like, no, my team didn't win. He was like, I didn't pitch well enough to get this team a win. And that is certainly not true. Hunter Brown pitched more than well enough for the Astros to win that ball game last night. It's just sometimes you got to tip your cap to the other club, to the other pitcher. And Jacob deGrom was on his stuff last night. And it's hard to, I know as fans, it's hard to say that. And it's hard, especially for this Astros team that has been pretty frustrating to watch at times offensively. It's hard for fans to just, give credit to other teams. They always are looking for, certain players to blame, certain coaches, and we'll get to that. Don't worry. I know you guys want to talk hitting coaches. You guys want to talk what's going on, and I'll address that in a little bit. But, as far as looking at last night, I'm not sure what else the Astros could have done last night. They ran up against a guy that as recently as 4 or 5 years ago was considered the best pitcher on the planet. And he reprised that role last night for 8 innings. This was a guy that in Jacob deGrom that he hit 99, he averaged 97 with the fastball. The slider was absolutely disgusting, was going changeups to some guys and flipping some curveballs in every now and then. The Astros, through no real fault of the coaching staff or the manager, they sent a lineup out there that it's pretty easy to pitch to this lineup when it's 8 right-handed hitters and a switch hitter. And we'll get into that as well. That, last night accentuated what I think we've been talking about for a while, that this is a very, very, very right-handed Astros offense. And it becomes pretty easy for opposing pitchers, some not as good, most not as good as Jacob deGrom, to formulate game plans to get these guys out. Because, again, while every hitter is different, when all you see for 8 innings is 8 guys standing in the right-handed batter's box, you can formulate plans to change eye levels, to to go to the outside corner, to attack different quadrants of the strike zone, and they become pretty easy to pitch to. And when you have Jacob deGrom's stuff, when you have a lineup that is that easy to pitch to just because of their handedness, it makes it all the more easy. But as we said earlier, the Astros took good at bats against Jacob deGrom, just didn't get rewarded with the results. So last night was certainly not the way the Astros wanted to start the Lone Star series, but a great game for those that are kind of neutral observers like me, like maybe the rest of the baseball world. If you tuned in to watch that game, you saw 2 of the best pitchers on the planet at the top of their craft, and it was a real joy to watch. So we're going to hear from our friends at Foul Territory right now, and then we'll come back and we will get to what you guys want to get to. We'll talk about the hitting coaches. We'll talk about the Astros imbalance lineup and what, if anything, anything Dana Brown can do to fix that. But first, here's a message from our friends at Foul Territory.
FT fam, let's talk about the HOF app. If you're into parlays, but sometimes you're missing the mark more than you would like to, can I introduce you to some serious analytics on an app that is easy to read and comprehend? And I'm sitting next to a man who knows how to place a parlay.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is breaking down a parlay with this Hall of Fame app. There's the situations that you'll find easier to do. It's very helpful and understanding. And if you like, gambling, sometimes this is really good to know. So get on there, get on that Hall of Fame app and check it out.
Yeah, this is info that will help you, okay? With a 4.9 rating in the App Store and over 6,000 five-star reviews, safe to say that HOF has already helped a lot of people bet smarter. For a limited time only, FT listeners can get a 7-day free trial and 50% off their first month when they use code FOUL at checkout. Download the HOF app on iOS or Android. Enter code FOUL and you're all set.
All right, so let's deal in some facts here real quick. I get it. As fans, when your team is right around 500, when your team can't seem to get going, when your team's not getting the traction that you want, that there's constantly looking for people to blame. It's tough as a fan to watch it, and believe me, I understand. I am a fan of other teams outside of baseball, and I have these same urges when LSU is having a rough football season. I want Brian Kelly fired, vice versa. So I get it. I understand where the passion is, and I wouldn't have a job if there was not passionate fans. So I appreciate the passion, and I appreciate the want for the Astros to do well. But let's deal in some facts here real quick. So I looked back, and since April 18th, that is the first game after the Astros went to St. Louis and lost 2 of 3 and looked pretty lifeless offensively. They go up to St. Louis, lose to a team that we now know is pretty good. The Cardinals have been one of the hottest teams in baseball as of late. But so April 18th, that was the first game of the Padres series at Daikin Park. So this is the span of 25 games. The Astros offense has a 115 WRC plus. League average is 100. So this has been an above average offense for the last 25 games of this season. There's only been 6 teams that have a higher WRC plus than the Astros in that span. And that's the Red Sox, the Mariners, the Tigers, the Yankees, the Mets, and the Dodgers. All teams that fancy themselves contenders, all teams that are playing very well right now. So to say that the Astros offense has been inept, to say that it has been a bad offense, it is simply not true for the last 25 games. You look at how they have played the last 25 games, and you got to remember within that stretch of that we're talking about, these 25 games, that includes the 2 games that they went to Kansas City and got shut out in back-to-back games. So they still have a 115 WRC plus in that span. So let's stow that away. That this has been a lineup that has been 15 points above league average across the past 25 games. In that span, however, the Astros have scored 108 runs. That's 4.3 runs per game, which is below league average. This is the same problem that they faced last year. You looked at all of the counting numbers looked good. The OPS, the batting average, the slug, it all looked good last year. But when you got down to run production, they weren't producing runs at the level that was acceptable and that needed to sustain as a contender. They're having that problem again this year, and you start to wonder why that is. Well, when you come into the season and you traded your best hitter to the Chicago Cubs, you allowed another tentpole of your franchise to sign with the Boston Red Sox, and you replaced them with Isaac Paredes and Christian Walker, 2 guys that certainly are not bad players by any stretch of the imagination. Isaac Paredes has been probably this team's most consistent offensive player. Christian Walker is a guy that, with his pedigree, you thought coming in would be able to replace some of that production, some of that slug, some that Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman left when they departed. Christian Walker has not been a good player for the first 40 2 games of this season. He is hitless in his last 16 at bats. The strikeouts that he has had are coming in huge spots. We had the stat on the last pod. 30 of his 47 strikeouts this season have come with a runner on base. It's simple things like not moving the baseball in situations with runners on base. You wonder how much longer he can stay in the cleanup spot, but here we run into the crux of this problem, which is this lineup is not long enough. This lineup does not have enough depth or length to overcome when a guy like Christian Walker is scuffling, when a guy like Yainer Diaz is scuffling. There's not a ton of options Joe Espada has to, shake things up, to move guys down, move guys up. Zach DeZenzo took really good at bats last night against Jacob deGrom, but that's a guy that hasn't done it much in the big leagues. Do you want him hitting in the middle of the order? Jake Myers has been a revolution for the first, 45, 46 games of this season. We've seen this before from him, and the downturn kind of happens in the second half sometimes. Do you move him up to the middle of the order? Do you want that guy getting more at bats than someone with an established track record like Christian Walker? And I think it dovetails into what baseball kind of values. Baseball is a track record sport. I'm not going to bring out back of the baseball card here because I know that'll send shivers down a lot of people's spines. But this is a sport that values track record. It's a sport that values longevity and established guys. And inherently, you give those guys time. You give those guys time to figure things out. You in the back of your mind, and this is not just with the Astros. This is in every organization across the league. Those guys get more runway, and those guys get more benefit of the doubt in most cases that they will turn things around. So that's where the Astros are right now with Christian Walker, is that they believe that giving him enough runway and giving him some time that he will turn things around. And look, he looked like he was turning a corner before that Royals series at Dyken Park where he went hitless. And then again, last night, I'm not sure last night is the game that you want to be the one to pound the table, to fire everyone, to overhaul everything, because there's no hitting coach in the world that would have made the Astros hit Jacob deGrom last night. The way he was pitching, he's just that good. So another part of this with the hitting coaches came out, this week with a story on ESPN.com from Jeff Passan, the very, very good insider who got Alex Bregman to open up a lot about some changes he's made in the Red Sox organization since he got there. Part of the story described some changes Bregman made to his swing, some changes that the Red Sox hitting coaches brought to him when he signed there as some things he could do differently. Before we get into this, I do want to note real quick that a couple of the hitting coaches mentioned in that story, Ben Rosenthal and Dylan Lawson, are guys that were in the Astros organization before. They left for promotions. They got jobs on big league staffs, but they were minor league and roving instructors in the Astros system. So they were born and bred in the Astros system and probably had a little bit of knowledge of Alex Bregman before he even got to Boston. So inherently, people read Jeff Passan's story and were outraged of how can the Astros hitting coaches not have identified this? This is a bad look. And then look, I'm not here to sugarcoat it. Optically, it doesn't look great. It doesn't look great when a guy that has been in your organization for 10 years goes to another organization and is immediately extolling the virtues of everything that their hitting coaches did to unlock his swing. But there's a little bit more nuance here that I think needs to be put out there before we start making this such a simplistic conversation. First of all, Alex Bregman tweaks his swing and tweaks his mechanics maybe more than any baseball player I have ever covered. And maybe I'm a little biased because I've covered Alex Bregman since he was an 18-year-old freshman at LSU. And I have seen just kind of how he works and how his mind works. This is a guy that is constantly tinkering, has some new different little thing mechanically that he finds with his swing. If you followed him in his Astros career, if you followed his post-game comments at all, when he would have a big game, and we would go to his locker and ask him, like, hey, what led to this today? He'd go, oh, well, I found this in the cage before the game, and I found this with my hands, I found this with my load, and we got it fixed. So for Alex Bregman to have things adjusted and made to his swing is not news. That happened here constantly. Um, and he was as open to talk about it here as he was with Jeff Passan with the Red Sox. So that is number one. That Alex Bregman is a constant evolver. His swing is constantly evolving. This is not something that is new to him. It's not like he went to the Red Sox and they opened his mind to the ability to tweak his swing. That happened a lot here. Second with Alex Bregman is, and we have talked about this. Josh Reddick has talked. We've talked about it with Josh when Josh has been on the pod. One thing about Alex Bregman that I think some people realize is that he has a personal hitting coach in Jason Columbus, who has been with him since high school, from the Albuquerque area where Bregman is from. When Bregman was with the Astros, Jason Columbus was on 95% of the Astros road trips. He was on the field with Alex Bregman during BP, not around the cage, mind you, with where the fans with BP passes get to stand. That's where he would stand, and that is one of Alex Bregman's most trusted confidants in talking about his swing and looking at his swing. Um, there's a lot of back and forth there, and there was some collaboration there. Troy Snicker, the hitting coach that worked pretty closely with Bregman, Troy Snicker would be often seen talking to Jason Columbus, kind of about Bregman's approach, about his swing, things like that. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is that there's a lot more people in some of these guys' ears than just the organizational hitting coaches. And this is not exclusive to Bregman. There are guys around the sport that have their own personal hitting guys away from the organization that they go to for guidance, that they go to because they know their swings and they've seen that. Like Jason Columbus has seen Bregman's swing since he was 16 years old. Like no one knows his swing probably better than him. There are guys around the league in that same boat that have their own personalized hitting coaches that they go to for guidance. So to distill it as something as simple as Houston's hitting coaches missed this. Alex Bregman went to the Red Sox. They found this, and now he's some elite player. I think that's disingenuous because there are so many people that have a hand in molding Alex Bregman and other hitters. And I don't want to make this a Bregman specific conversation, but again, the story kind of lends itself to it. So that's the one we're having. But this is not, it's hard for me to blame hitting coaches, and it's hard for me to blame coaches in general in baseball because this is such a sport where coaches can't impact much. Like you can't draw up the go hit a home run play off of Jacob deGrom. Like an offensive coordinator in football can draw up some schemes that can scheme their way to success. A basketball coach can, diagram an offense that gets a defense out of the zone or gets a defense to play man, things like that. Like when a hitter goes up to the plate, like it's kind of on them. Like I don't know that hitting coaches are the reason that Christian Walker's not hitting. I think Christian Walker has come out and said that the pressures of signing a big free agent deal and stepping into the cleanup spot from day one is something that has weighed on him a little bit. I'm not sure a hitting coach is the problem for that. I'm not sure a hitting coach is the reason that Jose Altuve has not been good for the last 30 games. These are the same hitting coaches that were around when Jose Altuve was when Jose Altuve made the All-Star team last year, when Jose Altuve was one of the best offensive players in baseball in 2020, 2021, 2022. Like nothing's changed infrastructure wise. It's hard for me to just immediately go to the coaching staff, to go to hitting coaches are the reason why this is happening. And as we said, it is not as if the Astros offense has been some below average, anemic, terrible operation. Again, since April 18th, a span of 25 games, they are 15 points above league average when you look at WRC plus. However, this is not a lineup that has much depth. They is not the lineup that has the length that we have seen from previous Astros line. The hitting coaches can only coach the roster they're given, and at some point, it's tough for that to happen when there is an attrition of talent. And you look at what has transpired, it's been positive on this team. Jeremy Pena is off to the best start of his career. And it seems that a lot of people want to just credit Jeremy Pena for being the guy that has discovered the way to get onto the breakout. He's got a 135 OPS plus and an 833 OPS through his first 183 plate appearances. Like, do the hitting coaches not get credit for Jeremy Pena becoming, the player that we thought he was going to be after 2022? Do they not get credit for Jake Myers out of nowhere now having, an OPS approaching 800? Do they not get credit for, as we've talked about with Brendan Rodgers? I know the results are not there for Brendan Rodgers. I think Brendan Rodgers personifies kind of the delicate balance you have to toe with evaluating hitting coach. As we have discussed, everything about Brendan Rodgers' peripherals has gotten better. The ground ball rate is cut in half. The line drive rate is up. The hard hit rate is up. And Brendan Rodgers has talked about hitting coaches asked him to widen his batting stance. They asked him to, bring his hands lower in order to get to the ball quicker and get out in front to elevate the ball. He is doing everything under the hood that the Astros hoped he could do. And the results on the field haven't translated, but you look under the hood, like everything that the Astros thought they could unlock from Brendan Rodgers metrically and underlying wise, they have done. Still, he's got a 68 OPS plus and a 588 OPS. That's not good enough. Like, we're not going to sit here and try to put lipstick on a pig and say that's good enough. It's not. But they have made the adjustments. They've got the batted ball quality up. They've got the sort of batted ball quality they want. It's just not translating on the field. I'm not sure how much blame you can put on a hitting coach in that situation, because they have prepared him. They have set him up. They have told him this is what you need to do. They have adjusted the stance. They've talked to him about pitch selection. They've talked to him about making the adjustments they've asked him to make. And it hasn't translated on the field. Part of that is just dumb baseball luck. Part of that is, Brendan Rodgers' strikeout rate remains pretty high. Part of that's on the player. The player's got to, swing at better pitches. Like, Troy Snicker and Alex Centron can't go up there and swing the bat for them. So I'm rambling now, and this is, one of these things that I feel like this is going to be a discussion all season, just because this is going to be an offense that goes through ebbs and flows. And I think we'll stop talking about the hitting coaches if and when Christian Walker can get going, if and when Jose Altuve returns to the Jose Altuve form that we know, if and when Jordan Alvarez comes off the IL and provides the spark and provides the power that this lineup is missing. I think the hitting coach discussion will be rendered a little bit moot. But until that happens, I feel like this is going to be a social media discussion for a while. I feel like this is going to be something that people wring their hands over. But I just can't get on board with an offense that for a representative sample size, the last 25 games has been well above league average, to look at it and say that this is a coaching or a teaching problem. At some point, the players have to perform, the players have to produce runs, and the guys that the Astros pay to produce runs are not doing that right now. And until that changes, this lineup's going to stay kind of not stuck in the mud, because, like we said, this has been an above average lineup, but just a lineup that is not reaching the potential that it could have. Another reason this lineup is not reaching the potential it could have is a roster construction issue. And we'll talk about that right after another word from our friends at Foul Territory.
Hey, FT fam. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit, Cam, because we're busy and we would like all of the ingredients to cook up something nice and make us look like elite chefs at home.
You know what I do? I've got kids in basketball, I've got soccer, I've got baseball. And when they get home, there's a fresh meal and they think, "Oh, Dad, he's so great." Well, no, it's not me. It's HelloFresh. It's nutritious. It's packed full of good nutrients. The kids have good energy, and they look at me like I'm the greatest dad in the world. So make sure you go grab that HelloFresh, because you know what? It's doing my family all the good.
Cook up dishes like chicken Dijon and pecan crusted trout, over 100 seasonal snacks, sides, and treats as well. Feel great with meals that fit your spring schedule and make the season even more delicious. Go to HelloFresh.com/FT10FM now to get 10 free meals with a free item for life. 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan.
So one thing about Jacob deGrom is Jacob deGrom is lethal against right-handed hitters. Entering last night, right-handed hitters had one extra base hit off of Jacob deGrom all season. They had a 488 OPS against Jacob deGrom. Right-handed hitters exited last night with one extra base hit off of Jacob deGrom all season. He completely toyed with the 8 Astros right-handed hitters that were in their batting order. Two of the 3 hits against Jacob deGrom, 2 of the 5 hits, excuse me, against Jacob deGrom last night by the Astros came off of the one guy in their lineup that can hit left-handed, that is switch hitter Victor Caratini, who had a double into the right field corner and then had a single off of Jacob deGrom, put together unquestionably the best at bats that the Astros accentuated a problem that I have written about in The Athletic and that the Astros are going to have to address here pretty soon. And that is a lineup that is completely imbalanced. And with Jordan Alvarez on the IL, obviously it creates a lot of problems. You know, that only complicates the matter. But this is a problem even with a fully healthy Jordan Alvarez. This team does not have enough balance, and it does not have enough diversity in its lineup to make a pitcher have to pitch differently. You know, when you look at maybe some of the better lineups in the sport, you see it stacked pretty evenly of right, left, maybe a string of 2 righties before a lefty, things like that. And the Astros just don't have that. They don't have a way to create a basic platoon advantage to the point where, as we've discussed, like opposing managers are just not going to throw left-handed pitchers against them, because why would you? Why would any manager throw a left-handed pitcher against this current iteration of the Astros? Like, it makes absolutely zero sense. The Reds on the last homestand did the exact same thing. They had a left-hander scheduled to start the finale, Andrew Abbott, and on Friday, they decided, you know what, we're going to bring up this rookie named Chase Petty. He throws with his right hand. He'll probably get it'll probably be a rough go for him because he's making his second big league start. And it was. The Astros, I believe, drew 6 walks off of him. They chased him after about 3 or 4 innings. But just giving him the opportunity to face 9 right-handed hitters, that's a better matchup inherently than sending any left-handed pitcher out there, maybe minus, you know, the guys at the elite level. That's a better matchup than sending a left-handed pitcher out there to try to face him. So Dana Brown did hold court with the 3 beat writers here in Arlington before yesterday's game, and I asked him if the Astros are pursuing a left-handed bat. He said he's been pursuing a left-handed bat since the winter, and he hasn't stopped pursuing one, but he did temper some expectations, said, I believe the direct quote was, "It's not as if we're pounding the table for a left-handed bat, but we have had discussions for one." To me, this is my opinion. I think the Astros should be pounding the table. And I don't think it doesn't need to be some elite left-handed bat that's going to come in here and hit in the middle of the order. And those aren't available on May 16th anyway. So the Astros aren't going to get one of those, but they need just some semblance of balance. They need to be able to show, just to put the thought in the other dugout's head that, hey, we've got a couple left-handed hitters on the bench. This is going to make our decision in the 5th inning of whether to keep our right-handed starter in or to go to the bullpen for the lefty fireman we like it makes that decision more complicated. Now it's like, you know what, if there's a right-handed starter in, or if we got a right-handed reliever in the bullpen, we're just going to those guys. Like, there's no real strategy needed by an opposing manager at this point. And Joe Espada, on the other side, has no recourse. I mean, he's got his bench at this point is all the same. It's the same profile of player. It is a right-handed hitting outfielder that is going to put up maybe the same quality of at bat across the board. He has Cesar Salazar on his bench now, who does hit left-handed, but the fact that he hasn't played since he's been up for Jordan Alvarez, he's here only in case of emergency. Like, they're not planning to put him in big leverage spots, as they shouldn't. He is a third catcher. And it leaves Joe Espada pretty hamstrung as to what he can do late in games, how he can maneuver his lineup, how he can create platoon advantages, because they have nothing there. And I think this is all tied to Cam Smith. And one other thing Dana discussed yesterday with the beat writers was how long can they keep Cam Smith on the major league roster if he's not going to play every day? Because as we have seen in the last few weeks, Zach DeZenzo is pretty clearly past Cam Smith on the Astros outfield pecking order. DeCenzo has started pretty regularly here lately. Cam Smith has not played in 3 consecutive games, including yesterday against Jacob deGrom. Asked Dana Brown yesterday what he believed was best for Cam Smith's development. Was that to be up here around the big league guys not playing every day, or was it to go down to double A or triple A, get some regular at bats and to work some stuff out? And Dana Brown put a number on it. He said, they weren't going to really start making a ton of decisions until Cam Smith got to around 150 at bats at the big league level. He enters Friday with 98 at bats at the big league level. So sounds as if Cam Smith is going to get a little bit more runway here, maybe 2-3 weeks to where they can get him up to 150 at bats and then maybe make a decision. Dana Brown sounded pretty enthusiastic about the development he has seen from Cam Smith. Joe Espada has long been a guy that has said to develop, you need to play every day. And with the emergence of Jake Myers, with the emergence of Zach DeZenzo, with Jordan Alvarez probably coming back here in the immediate future, there is no path for Cam Smith to play every day. And Joe Espada he's in the business of winning regular season games. This is not about doing what's best for Cam Smith or to see, hey, let's give the Uber prospect the old college try. No, this isn't high school ball where you just run out the guy you think is deserves it or anything like that. They got to win ball games. And Joe Espada is putting out the best lineup every day that he believes can win that night's game. And it's been clear that Cam Smith is not a part of it. So it'll be interesting to see if the Astros do find that if pounding the table does start. If the Astros can find that left-handed hitter, it may come at the expense of Cam Smith. And it does call into question now the roster construction from spring training, because the Astros had 2 left-handed hitters in camp that they could have carried. They could have carried either John Singleton or Ben Gamel. Ben Gamel would have fit pretty perfectly in this scenario. Again, not a guy that's going to tear the cover off the ball, not a guy that you would ever consider an offensive threat, but again, is a guy with a ton of big league time that in spurts has shown that he can put up a competitive at bat, stands in the left side, stands in the left-handed batter's box, and again, just puts in the other manager's mind that along with Victor Caratini on the bench, Joe Espada has options in these games when they're at full strength. Right now, he doesn't. And so it got accentuated last night with Jacob deGrom on the mound. It'll probably get accentuated as we keep going forward and as long as this roster construction stays the same. And to hear Dana Brown describe it last night, it sounds like it will stay the same for a little while. So one more thing with that left-handed kind of discrepancy. Dana Brown did say, Jacob Melton has been that left-handed bat that they were kind of hoping that could be the guy they could call on. He hasn't been healthy. Dana Brown said last night that the back continues to bother him. There's been some talk that maybe there was even a groin injury at some point. Dana couldn't really confirm that, but did say that there was a retweak in the back, and that's limited him, and they're not going to call him up if he's not healthy. Taylor Trammell is in the same boat. I believe if Taylor Trammell had not strained his calf pretty badly in spring training, he could be a guy that they could talk about at this point to be somebody that, again, they're not asking a left-handed bat to come in here and set the world on fire offensively, but just give options. And if he was healthy, I think he'd be in that discussion as a guy that could be up here to help. But again, they don't have that, and if they're not pounding the table to look for options, it doesn't sound like they'll have that anytime soon. I hope this went okay. This is my first time doing this. I can't believe I got 38 minutes out of me just rambling. I hope this we need Tyler back pretty badly. I'm all out of sorts. I forgot my microphone at home. I'm doing this on my AirPods. I hope the audio's okay. I'm sorry everyone had to look at me for the last 39 minutes. I hope I made some semblance of sense. The good news is I've got a couple guest co-hosts lined up for the next couple of podcast episodes. So you won't just have to listen to me ramble. I know that there's people that hate watch this that don't enjoy listening to me ramble. They do this just to spite me, and I understand that. Perfectly understandable. I'm sorry that you had to sit through this, but I appreciate you doing so. If you want, please rate and review this on Apple. Please give me 5 stars. Just throw me a bone. Please rate and review on Apple. Please subscribe on YouTube at the Crush City Territory podcast, the Crush City Territory YouTube channel, so you can know whenever we go live. We'll be back on Sunday night to recap the Astros Lone Star series against the Rangers. And we'll be back next week to discuss the continuation of this 17-game stretch, whether the offense can start to score some runs, and perhaps whether the hitting coaches can teach the offense how to hit. This has been Chandler Rome. I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks.